Hello, so my name is Stephanie Howell, and I'm going to show you how I use Pear Deck with my Google Slides to teach Read and Write for Google to help students with their annotations. So the reason I like to use Pear Deck first is because it helps gain that prior knowledge for students. I know in the past when I've done lessons and haven't really set it up to help students know where to click, they kind of get lost. Where here, if I do a lesson first, like with Pear Deck, where we walk through the different tools, it's a lot easier for them to understand what I'm talking about later. So I just do a Pear Deck lesson and I do it teacher-led. It's a quick, probably 15-minute introduction just to read and write so they know where to click. And then we actually dig in to read and write on a Google Doc. And then if there's time, we usually go to a website just to show the similarities and how most of the writing tools are kind of gone on a website, just to show students how easy it is to use. I do have to tell students to be patient because read and write is not always quick. So if it's ever not working, I just remind them, let's try to refresh our page. Let's try to do different things. And that usually will help them understand some troubleshooting tips when working with it. Also to make sure your Chrome is all the way up to date. So I'm just going to go through this lesson with a student so you can see how read and write works. So I just asked students, have you ever used read and write for Google? Some will say yes, and then other students will say no, depending on their how familiar they are with it. And then they have to locate the two puzzle pieces because they are kind of different in the web version and on a Google Doc or slide. So I just tell them, take your heart, put it over the puzzle piece, and find it again. And this really does help with them locating it when I tell them on the actual run, go ahead and find the puzzle piece. I've learned when I have not done it with a Pear Deck, students have a really hard time finding that puzzle piece. But when you do it with the Pear Deck and have them click it, and then I show them immediate feedback, it really does help them go, okay, that's where that's at. Because a lot of students have not used this tool. Then I just talk about the different toolbars that they will find compared to like a Google Doc and Slides, the PDF version of it, and then the web. The web and Google Docs is very similar, but students just need to know that there are some differences. And so we just talk about it and we look at the different toolbars so they can get familiar with it. And then I have them watch this quick video that just shows some of the features of read and write. The kids really like it because of the mouse, and it's a really good video just to quickly introduce it. Based on that video, they have to now find the highlighters, the dictionaries, and the text-to-speech features. So they'll take their cat and they'll put it over the two dictionaries. There's a picture dictionary and an actual dictionary. And then the next one is the highlighters. So they can put the flag over the highlighters. And then the text-to-speech. And so again, students have not played with any of these tools unless they have explored on their own. But right now, I just want them to get familiarized with where the tool is located, so it makes the lesson later run a lot faster and smoother. And then again, we just show them, okay, here's the dictionaries. Who got it right? We see how many students were listening. This one's kind of challenging because in the video, they do not talk about the vocabulary feature. And a lot of people do not use this feature, and it's kind of upsetting because it's amazing. So then I tell them, try to find the vocabulary feature, and they move their square over it. And then they see if they're correct. This one does stump a lot of students because a lot of students don't know about this one. They can figure out the highlights. They can take a guess with the dictionary and the text-to-speech, but this one's a little bit tricky. Then they have to find the settings because they will most likely have to use their settings in Read and Write for Google because a couple of the features are turned off, like the fact finder. It is turned off. You have to turn it on. And this is a really cool feature because it lets you search the web with it. So I always tell students, okay, turn on the fact finder. And that way they kind of get familiar with the settings and how to change the speech. If they don't like hearing a female voice, they can change it to male. Also, they're a translator. They need to change it in settings. I have a lot of students at one of my schools There's a lot of different languages that they're interested in, or they speak, or their mom or dad knows to speak. So they wanted to turn that feature on. So we talk about the settings and how to turn those on and off. And then we go ahead and say, okay, who got that right? And then we talk about the quick guide. This is very helpful for teachers to know what all the symbols mean and what they do. And then I have students begin to explore. So when they begin to explore, we open up a Google Doc. And I'm going to do a separate video going over all of the features and how I would do that lesson with students.